Perfect. Welcome to the week 6, and it is SOC 1010, Introduction to Sociology, and today is 2/9/2021, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, we have some good chapters today about families, intimate relationships, sociology of family, and sociology of culture and religion. We have enough time to study both of them. Perfect. Questions, deep questions in this chapter about the sociology of family and intimate relationships. How important is your family in your daily life? Simple but deep question. What are the major changes within the American family that have occurred within your lifetime? From your childhood to adolescence and to adulthood and sometimes to the old age. What are some of the stressors that families face? Different cultures, different generations, and different stressors. Chapter outlines are families in global perspective, theoretical perspectives on family, developing intimate relationships and establishing families, child-related family issues and parenting, transitions and problems in families, and family issues in the future. Question one. Again, we have 8 questions about the sociology of this chapter, sociology of family, diverse family landscapes in the 21st century. Most US adults view having a baby outside of marriage as morally wrong. How do you think, without checking your PowerPoint?
False.
It's false? They think it is morally true? Most US citizens? Most US adults view having a baby outside of marriage as morally wrong. How do you think having a baby is a matter of morality or not? Having, not parenting. Having a baby is a matter of morality, ethics or not. It's not related to ethics. It's a personal and private choice.
I think it's personal because
It's a personal.
a lot of people in this generation aren't even getting married. I mean, they're living together and they still want to raise a family together, but a lot of people think it's just a social construct or just a piece of paper, and they don't think it's necessary to do it.
Let me louder. So you think it is a private and personal issue?
Yes.
How do you think, Gabriela, as a young woman in this society, do you think having a baby is a matter of morality, a matter of ethics or not? It's a personal choice.
It's a personal choice.
A personal choice. And what about different cultures? For example, we know that in different aspects of Christianity, or even in my religion, in Islam, it's a heavy load of morality, a heavy load of ethics.
Mm-hmm.
And also different cultures, not only about the religions, about the ethnicities. Wait a minute, I close the. Sorry. A lot of cultures
Mm-hmm.
Even a lot of different states in America think in different approaches. Some of them think it's a moral issue.
Yeah, a lot of people in cultures and religions have a different opinion about it, but in my opinion, it's a personal choice.
Yeah, my question is, what are the other factors that impact the view of people about having baby out of marriage, except of religion? Other factors, not
Um,
only religion. Are there any non-religious factor that impact the view of people about having baby out of marriage or not? Or they are all religious factors.
I think the culture.
What factors? What cultural factors?
Mm,
Values?
Well, for some too,
Norm?
the same. They don't believe in premarital sex, so
Uh-huh.
before marriage. I guess
Mhm.
that's a that could be a religion or a cultural thing,
yeah.
Yeah.
or getting married, or having a baby if depending on their age, if they're too
Uh-huh.
young or too old.
Mm-hmm.
So we can find some cultural factors which are not related to religion. They are culture based.
It's more financial, depending on if it's a co-parenting or what the situation is, but economically and financially, if they are can support the child together or if it's more separate.
So you think if the parents have the economic power, economic support for their baby, sometimes it is not a matter of ethics or a matter of morality. It's a matter of social support, economic support, psychological support. Because it has its roots is before Jesus Christ, before Buddha. Buddha is about 2000, near 2700 years ago, near the time of the Moses. Before that time, we have a lot of written discussions about the baby out of marriage, and all are about the moral and legal and religious sex or no personal choice. More than 4 in 10 US adults have at least one step relative in their family. More than 1/4 or not?
Yes, because is it more than half of marriage ends up in divorce these days? So
Yeah, yeah. The percentage of children living with two parents, regardless of their marital status, differs by race and Hispanic origin. Is it true or not? The percentage of children living with two parents, regardless of their marital status, differs by race and Hispanic origin. It is true.
true.
The birth rate among US teenagers is much lower than the birth rate among teens in other Western industrialized countries. True or false? The birth rate among US teenagers is much lower than the birth rate among teens in other Western industrialized countries, especially in European countries.
False.
Couples who cohabit before they get married are more likely to stay married. It's a very, very strong belief among people. How do you think? Couples who cohabit before they get married are more likely to stay married.
True.
I'm gonna say false.
Gabriel, do you think it's false?
I think it's true.
False. Also, I wished it would be true. I wished. Because I think cohabitation can be a very good position, very good situation for evaluation, premarital evaluation.
Yeah,
But
that's what
sorry,
I thought.
it does not. It's not true. Stay-at-home parents, also this question is before COVID-19. Stay-at-home parents have become less common since the 1990s, when more two-paycheck families were established to help pay their bills. True or false? Do you know any average family with one paycheck? Average, not higher level. I didn't know any family in the average social level that only one person can pay all the bills, all the costs of the family.
It's well, I don't know if it would be under the definition of average, but in my
Yeah.
military community, I'll say a majority of the wives stay at home with the children
Yeah.
while their spouse is active duty.
Because of the additional and good facilities that the military service give to the family members.
Probably because it's
Yeah.
insurance and stuff like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
included and
But ordinary people for non-military and non-governmental support jobs like military forces,
Mhm.
ordinary people, I didn't know any family that they can
Yep.
pay
Most
all
people
the
I
cost
know
only one person.
most people I know have two that's not military affiliated have to have two jobs or
Hmm.
an additional income somewhere.
Yeah, it is not allowed for them. They cannot have, or they can. I don't know.
No, they can't stay at home. Both parents have to work.
Mhm. Must have. The percentage of U.S. households that contain only one person has continued to increase since the 1970s. True or false?
True.
True.
True. And the last question, among US married couples, it is very rare for the wife to earn more money than the husband.
True.
It's very rare or not.
True.
It's false. It is not
False.
rare. Oh, yes, it is not rare.
Good.
Many women have more income than their husband. Why rare? Also, it is not so common, I know, but it is not rare. I have some living example in front of myself just now. After ending your education, you may earn more than your wife, more than your husband, more than your
I
boyfriend, more
hope
than your
so.
spouse. Yes, I hope so too. Why not? You are a smart, hard worker. Why not? Only a little chance, a little creativity, and little courage. Chance, courage, and creativity are the triple seed that can come to your life and save your life for all remaining of your life. Families in global perspective. Families are relationships in which people live together with commitment from an economic unit and care for any young and consider their identity to be significantly attached to the group. What are the keywords? At first, family is a shape of relationship. When we talk about family, we talk about a specific type of relationship. Live together, okay, any type of relationship may have some types of living together, but with commitment, economic support for young children, and identity and group. These are the keywords. Live together, young people, young children, young members, support, more than everything after the concept of living together, more important than everything for definition of family is commitment. The core concept of shaping a family is about commitment, identity, and attached to the group. Kinship refers to a social network of people based on common ancestry, marriage, or adoption. Three roots for kinship. At first, common ancestry, your grandpa, your grandma, your family roots, your family tree. After that, maybe kinship is about is from your husband, from your wife, from your spouse, or adoption, going to a new situation, new family as a new member. In all of these three roots, we can find kinship, but it is a social network. The family of orientation is the family into which a person is born and in which early socialization usually takes place. The family of orientation, keywords are born, socialization. These are the major part of definition for family of orientation. Born, more important than, honestly, more important than biologically born, the process of socialization is your social born. You are socially born in the process of socialization. So sometimes you don't live with your biological parents, with another family. Sometimes it is not so regular. Sometimes your biologic family is different from your family of orientation. Why it is called family of orientation? Because your orientation to life has been shaped in this family. Ordinary family of orientation is your biological family, your biological parents. Ordinary. But sometimes it's not your biological parents. The family of procreation is the family that a person forms by having or adopting children. It is sometimes called your secondary family, with your wife, with your husband, or no, as a single mom, as a single dad, you only adopted children, having or adopting children. It is family of procreation. Again, we can find two types of family. The old families were extended families. An extended family is a family unit composed of relatives in addition to parents and children who live in the same household. What are the keywords? Related, household. Related and household. The same household. Have you experienced extended family in your life or not? From your childhood to now?
Yes, I had a stepfather and stepbrothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm. And living in one household?
Yes, from the age of 7.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the time was divided. We would go over to my dad's on the weekends, but it kind of diminished, I would say around when I turned 12.
Hmm.
I didn't go over to my dad's as frequently, and it kind of turned into like when I wanted to go see him type thing, but that's a different story. But yes, I do come from an extended family.
But now your
Or
present family is nuclear family.
yes, well, and also when my
Only
daughter was
with your
when
husband and with your children now.
yes, but that was only in the past few years. When my daughter was born, um, because I was active duty and then I had Brighton and Ella, and they're 16 months apart. And so 2 months after Ella was born, Joshua had deployed for a whole year in Afghanistan. And
Mm-hmm.
right before that, my stepfather had passed away. So my mom came to live with us. So she lived with us for about, even after Josh got home, for like 2 years.
2 years.
And then she lived and then she lived next door.
Also, only one, for example, grandma or grandpa, only one person. Is
Yeah,
not
it
a
lived with
type
us
of
for a few
extended
years.
family.
Yes.
For
But
regular
now it's
time,
just
for long
nuclear
term,
family.
and it's a composition of relatives.
Hmm.
It is occasional. Your husband was in Afghanistan, and
Oh, for 2 years after that also though. It
yeah,
was for
yeah,
about total 4 years.
it's a shape of lifestyle. It's a type of
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle. Nuclear family and extended family. A nuclear family is a family composed of one or two parents and their dependent children, all of whom live apart from other relatives, independent. And as you can see in the photos, extended family and nuclear family. How big is your nuclear family and how big is your extended family? It's the only questions. What is the definition of marriage? Let me. What is the definition of marriage on your own words? Can we consider any definition for marriage?
Two people that come together and make a commitment to each other.
That's it only. Coming together and have commitment together is marriage.
Well, then there's like that's why a lot of people don't do it, I guess, these days because there is legal obligations that go along with it,
Legal obligation,
like
commitment,
laws.
come
Yeah.
together.
Hmm.
The major turning point of marriage, getting married, to be married, with other types of coming together with commitment, the major turning point is
Does it have to do with intimacy?
the major part of intimacy is
Like between
sexual relationship. Sexual
between
relationship is
sexual
the
relationship. Yeah.
basic part of definition of marriage.
Yes.
You can go to live with your mother, with your father, and have a commitment about your, for example, laws of the household and other things,
Hmm.
but it is not marriage. It is not marriage. A legally recognized, at first, it is legalized, and or socially approved arrangement. For example, for North Europe, in Sweden, in some states of Canada, in some states of America, marriage is a legally recognized and or socially approved arrangement between two or more individuals that carry certain rights and obligations and usually involve sexual activity. You can see the keywords in red. It is legally recognized or socially approved arrangement between two or more individuals with their rights, obligation, and sex. Rights of marriage, marital rights, marital obligations, and marital sexual activity. Also, these words, honestly, they are not sociological or even psychological words. They are biological words, but in psychology and sociology, they are used a lot about monogamy and polygamy. Monogamy is a marriage between two parents, usually a man and a woman. Regular marriage is monogamy. One person married with another person, not with different person. In some countries, polygamy is the concurrent marriage of a person of one sex with two or more members of opposite sex. At first, you should know about the meaning of heterosex and homosex. What is the meaning of heterosex?
Man and woman.
Men and women. And what about the monosex? About the homosex?
Woman, woman, or man, man.
Man, man. In some countries, in some cultures, it is legal, it is socially acceptable, socially approved, In many countries, in many religion, in many, I don't know, is there any religion to accept as a religious order the homosexuality? Or no, I don't know. I know it is not approved by Jewish, by Christianity, and by Muslims. I know, but I don't know. Is there any divine religion, any monotheos with one God? Is there divine with the prophet's religion that accept homosexuality as a socially or as a religiously approved? I don't know. Is there anything?
Not that I know of, not besides the ones you just named that are not accepting.
Yeah. Sometimes, for example, now we know in church and in Vatican, some people, some uh, cardinals are talking about the legalized and accepting homosexuality by religion, but it is not approved by other, for example, different types of churches. It is about the sexual orientation. It is not about the sexual behavior. Do you know what is the difference between, for example, transgender and homosexuality? Do you know what is the difference?
Some transgender, they just want to have the difference of physical appearance of the opposite sex, but doesn't mean that that's their sexual orientation.
Uh
That's
huh.
just their identity.
It's about the appearance.
Yes, so I could try to look transgender and dress more like a man, but I still want to be with a man.
Yeah. And other differences.
And then homosexuality, they um usually it depends on, I don't know if they want to be with the opposite sex, the opposite gender, despite how they dress or
Yeah. One of them, it is about sexual activity. One of them, it is
Mhm.
about sexual orientation, sexual identity. If you don't have any problem with your sexual identity, you accept yourself as a female, you accept yourself as a male. You don't have any problem with your sexual identity, gender identity. But your sexual function is for your same sex. Only sexual function. It is not about the gender identity. It's not the sexual identity. It is not about sexual orientation. It is about the only sexual activity. It is called homosexuality or heterosexuality. But if you have some problem with your identity as a man or as a woman and want to be another identity in your body, in your face, in your name, even, it is about the transgender. So one of them, it is about sexuality. One of them is about gender. Gender is technically different from sexuality. Gender is different. So monogamy is a marriage between two partners, usually a man and a woman. Polygamy is the concurrent marriage of a person of one sex with two or more members of opposite sex. So both of them are in the category of heterosexuality. It is not about the sexual orientation. It is not about the gender identity. It is about the amount of partners you can have. Regularly, one man with one woman. It is monogamy. Sometimes, ordinary, sometimes it's one man with more than two or more than two women. It is polygamy. Polygamy for men is polygyny. Polygyny is one man and multiple women. But sometimes polygamy is sometimes, not always. Sometimes polygamy is also used only for men. When they say he is polygamous, polygamous, some a man that who wants to have different relationship legally with different We are talking about the marriage. We are not talking about the sex addiction. We are not talking about the sexually behavior, socially unapproved sexually behaviors. We are talking about the marriage, legally approved relationship with more than one woman. It is polygyny. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't seen any legal base of polyandry. Polyandry it is about one woman legally with different men. But again, I am talking to you that it is not about sexual addiction. Sexual addiction is something different. It is about a character who wants and who needs to have different sexual permanent relationship with other people. If a woman with multiple men, it is called polyandry. If it is a man, one man with multiple women, it is polygyny. Patrilineal, matrilineal, and bilateral. We are talking about descent tracing. What is family tree?
Tracing your genealogy.
Uh-huh.
So if my family tree would be my parents and then um, their parents, and then the smaller branches would be like their brothers and sisters and so forth.
Is it always written a genealogy or not? As a paper, as a document or not. Sometimes it is face to face, and person by person said, yes, this is your grandpa, grandma, and the genealogy.
Yes, it doesn't have to be written down.
It is a sign of honor, sign of credit for family membership or not.
I think so, yes.
Why?
Because then it would be like you're proud of your heritage and your where you come from, your and I know like carrying on your last name for some people, carrying on.
Can we consider this family tree as a sign of social credit or no, as a sign of discrimination? Some family has some superiority advantages against other people.
Oh, I didn't think of it like that, but I guess so if you're comparing trees.
How do you think, Gabriela? Do you think it is a sign of discrimination when I have a good heritage and legacy about my family genealogy or not?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Everybody has a history of family. Sometimes its family history is clear, written by the historical roots. Sometimes you don't know. For example, at the maximum rate, you know your grandpa and grandfather. But sometimes we have written family tree, genealogical part, and other things that shows who are your roots. I have seen that some people say, consider this genealogy as a discriminative element against other people. Yes, we have the honor to be the member of this family or that family. Do you think it is a type of discrimination or not?
If it's a type of discrimination,
Yeah, for example, like racial discrimination, gender discrimination, cultural discrimination. Is it family discrimination, one family over or under other families because having or not having a clear history, a clear genealogy, or a clear family history or not?
What about like in the days of the monarchy? Definitely.
What does it mean?
Like the kings and queens and like your lords and the titles. Like In a monarchy system,
Hmm.
your family tree is extremely important.
Yes,
Oh,
sometimes, for example, you see that maybe some of us has some kingdom roots. Maybe why not? People, especially in some countries like America, you see different people were from different areas of the world.
mm-hmm.
And some of
Oh
them
yeah, I see
yes.
what you mean. Um, once I lived in Brazil, I lived in a smaller city, and in smaller cities in Brazil, it kind of matters like what your last name is. So it kind of is a type of discrimination. If you don't have like a famous last name, you're kind of like nobody.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I
Can,
mean, this type of considering social consideration as a discrimination.
mhm. Yeah.
You see that, yes, if you don't have any prefix or suffix in your name,
Hmm.
sometimes it's a sign of social regard, social legacy, social history, and sometimes you are nobody. Also, anybody knows that everybody has not written, not clear, but everybody has some types of history.
Yeah. You're muted.
Patrilineal descent is a system of tracing descent to the father's side of the family. It is patrilineal descent. You create, you know your family history, genealogy from your father's side, who is the mother of your father, father of your father, and your grandpa, grandfather, and it is about your father's side. It is patrilineal descent. Petri is meant prefix for father now, and patrilineal is the line of father. And matrilineal descent is a system of tracing descent through the mother's side of the family. And bilateral descent is a system of tracing descent through both the mother's and the father's sides of the family. You know both of them. It is bilateral descent. Lateral, bilateral, it is from two sides. It's about the phrases for descent tracing. How can you trace your descent, your ancestors? From your father's side, it is patrilineal. From your mother's side, it is matrilineal. From both sides, it is bilateral descent. And sometimes there is no side. I don't know what's the name of when you don't know anything about your descent from father's side or mother's side or bilateral sides. Again, it is very important and very common. These words are very common. Patriarchal, matriarchal, and egalitarian. For example, in Southern America and Middle East, in some countries of North Europe, like Scandinavia, we have the authority system in family. It is called patriarchal. Patriarchal is meant to be a king. Father is the king of family. It is patriarchal. It is about the authority system in the family. A patriarchal family is a family structure in which authority is held by the eldest male. Honestly, it is not about only your father. If your grandfather is living, yes, the authority is with your grandfather. It is about the authority within the hands of the eldest male, live eldest male. In the other hand, a matriarchal family is a family structure in which authority is held by the eldest female. Um, I know in Denmark we have matriarchal family base. In addition to the very serious, very manly face of Turkish people. In some part of Turkey, we have matriarchal family authority system. Even America, not in California, even America, I know that many North states has the authority with female, especially in white Americans. An egalitarian family is a family structure in which both partners share power and authority equally. It is democratic family, yes. It is very modern family, yes. How do you think? Do you think is it good to be patriarchal or matriarchal? If you think yes, many people, many ladies, many women think that yes, it is a good to have a patriarchal family because when you have the authority, you are responsible, you are accountable. You should answer the questions. You should pay all the bills and other parts of your responsibility in your family. Many women love patriarchal structure. We say, are you a slave of your, for example, husband? They said, no, we are partner, we are not a slave. But the authority system, we think we are not eligible for shaping, for organizing the family system, family structure. Because of that, we say we love to have patriarchal family. How do you think? As women, one of you is mother and also a woman, and another one, I think, Gabriel, you are not mother, okay?
What?
Are you mother? Do you have any children or not?
No.
Okay. But Gabriela is only a woman, and Courtney is a woman and also a mother with two children. Courtney, first you. What type of, also, I know that your husband is from a military force. How do
Mhm.
you think about the authority structure in the family? Patriarchal family or matriarchal family?
I would have to
Or
say
egalitarian family, maybe?
the egalitarian family, just because I think that it might not be dead even all the time, but in some instances it will be back and forth between patriarchal and matriarchal,
Yeah.
depending on situation and timing or just what's going on at that point. I think, does that make sense? Sometimes it will be one way and sometimes it'll be the other. And
How
then
do you
sometimes,
consider
well,
how do you consider your family authority structure as a egalitarian or sometimes patriarchal? For example, when your husband is in Afghanistan for 2 years, for 1 year,
mhm,
that year absence year, you are the only leader. You should be the only leader of the family.
mhm,
It should be a matriarchal family. It is mandatory. Why? Because the father-in-law figure is not at home. Is the mission in other parts of the world. Is a military man. Can you consider how to govern, how to organize your family with your children, yourself, and financial part, economic part, emotional part, social part, especially more than everything, social part, interpersonal with other people outside of the home? How can you consider these issues in your family when you are only a single, not a single mom, but a
mhm,
single wife? You have husband, but he
mhm.
is in a very long and far distance mission. In that time, do you think yes, again, it is egalitarian or no? It is matriarchal or no? He is long term, but he has the right orders and we should obey his orders. How do you think? And how do you manage your family? You are a good example.
I would say it would be more matriarchal, but I do kind of, um, I would, for an example, I would tell my kids for something like, your dad wouldn't like you to be talking like that, or daddy
Mhm.
wouldn't like you to do that type thing. Because I think, not that they have less view of me as an authoritative figure, but I think just naturally they've children view the father as a more strict authoritative figure in my household instance anyways.
Mhm.
If that makes sense. So I'll kind of use that structure even when
Mhm.
I'm doing the matriarchal structure.
Mhm.
but I still have that in the background. So that's why I kind of would lean, I guess if I had to have categorized, it would be, I would say that word. How do you pronounce it proper? The egalitarian?
No.
How do you say the egalitarian?
Egalitarian?
Egalitarian. I
Yeah.
would say if I had to classify one.
Mhm. For patriarchal or matriarchal or egalitarian. So honestly, your family is egalitarian, but when your husband is not at home as a mission,
Hmm.
it's permanent, it's temporarily become matriarchal because the
Yes.
source of authority, you are the source of power. But your preference is egalitarian.
Yes, that's my preference.
Yeah. Also, I don't know because I see and I know some families that the source of authority is not father or mother. The source of authority are children. I don't know what that's what should be called that type of family. That children are the source of decision making and source of authority. What type of family do you prefer, Gabriela? Patriarchal, matriarchal, or egalitarian?
Uh,
Do you want you be your leader of the future marital family or not? You
I'm
want
not
to be.
sure. I'm not sure. I think I'm far from
What about
having
your
a.
original family? It was patriarchal or matriarchal between your parents, or not egalitarian? Both of them were share their views.
Yeah, I think it was egalitarian.
Oh, egalitarian. So good,
Yeah.
very good. Because also your age is not at the age of that. Consider your family parents, your family parents like a very old fashioned. But in old fashioned, many families were patriarchal,
Mm-hmm.
especially from Europe, family from Europe, from I don't know. I don't have any information about the authority in African American. Do you know they are regularly patriarchal or matriarchal or egalitarian? I don't know because I love their men. Their men, African men are very good men, very kind, very family, the kindly. I don't know. It's patriarchal in African American or not matriarchal. Do you know anything about the data in your friends, in your relatives?
From personal experience from friends, I could say a lot of it I would just from this is just my personal friends that I have. I would say matriarchal a lot because
Matriarchal, yes.
that mom has the say so,
Yeah.
and if mama says no,
Yeah.
then that's it, nothing else.
I have seen some African mom beat their young and long boys very hard, and they're completely authority with their mothers. And again, we have other words. It is patrilocal, matrilocal, and neolocal. It is about the residency, location of residency after marriage. Sometimes, because of the cultural and economic issues, we go to our original family location to start our marital living. Sometimes we go to the location and to the culture and to the city of our husbands. And sometimes we go to the culture and city and location of our wife's family. And sometimes none of them. We go to a separate part, separate city, different city. So Petri local, as you see, Petri is about the father, about the male, not father. Petri local residence refers to the custom of a married couple living in the same household or community as the husband's parents. So Petri local is meant about the location, community, household of husband parents because it is Petri. The prefix is Petri. And matrilocal residence refers to a custom a married couple living in the same household or community as the wife's parents. In my country, It is very regular, especially in their first years of marriage. Many couples are patriarchal, especially in the not in the metro cities like Tehran, but in the smaller cities, many people, many couples go to the location, to the household of their husbands because of the economic problems. After some years, they save their money and have an independent house for themselves. And in neolocal residences, the customary married couple living in their own residence apart from both the husband's and the wife's pattern. Psychologically, neolocal residence is highly recommended psychologically. Even two street apart from their husband's or wife's parents' location. Even two streets, even one neighborhood. Not about the cities, not about the, for example, great cities like Tehran, like New York, like, for example, Los Angeles. A no-local residence is the customary married couple living in their own residence apart from both the husband's and the wife's parents. Again, we have two words, endogamy and exogamy. Endogamy is the practice of marrying within one's own group. What is the problem with endogamy? Different members of a family married together, different members of a tribe only married within one's own group. What is the biologic problem we can consider here, confront here? Do you know? About a lot of disabled children, burning a lot of disabled children. Why? In endogamy or endogamous.
Are you saying of like incest?
No. It is not about the
Oh,
incest. It's just have relationship with your mother, with your sister, with your no. It is about the marriage, legal marriage within your own tribe. For example, only you can only marry with your cousin. For example, it is not out of the family, not original family, extended family, within one's own group. It is legal. Incest is not legal. Only people marry with their cousins, with the people inside their tribes, inside their generation. For example, I'm not certain about it, but I have heard Jewish people have very radical laws about this marriage. It is not so easy for a Jewish girl or a Jewish boy to marry with another Jewish or with another from another religion. Also, in my religion, it is not legal. You cannot go out of the religion and marry with other one with other. But in Christianity, I know that it is not very hard. It is
I know,
about
and
one's group, one's tribe, one's generation, not about the incest.
sorry, I missed heard the question.
Endogamy is the practicing. What is the biological problem can you consider in endogamous people? It is about genetic problems. When you marry with other people outside of your, for example, group, outside of your tribe, even outside of your culture, it shapes many diverse genetic sources. It's very good. But in endogamy, you see a lot of disabled children because the genetic resources are very similar together. There is no dominancy. It is not genetically and medically, it is not recommended, for example, to marry with your cousin. It is not recommended. Why? Because your genetic is very, very near and similar
Yeah,
together.
that's what I meant about for when I said the incesting. That's what I meant for that would be the problem because of mating too close to your
Yeah,
genetic makeup.
yeah. Incest has a lot of religious and ethical problems.
Mm-hmm.
Endogamy doesn't have any legal or religious problem. Some religion, for example, Islam, highly recommended endogamy. Very, very recommended. Jewish recommended endogamy. But basically and genetically, medically, it is not true. It is not recommended. But it is not about the ethics, it is not about the religion, it is about biology, it is about the genetic. Incest is illegal. Incest is prohibited by many, many, many religions. Incest is other things. Also, in some countries, I have heard, I don't know, I'm not certain about it. I have heard in Indonesia, yes, Indonesia or Bangladesh, I have heard also only that some people have the children of their father. It is about the incest. It is not legal, but it is not very, very with a hard punishment, socially hard punishment. In my country, it has a lot of hard punishment. Why not? In America, it has a lot of hard punishment for incest. Even in California, same-sex marriage is very easier in California, in contrast with incest. Incest is not legal. No, never. I haven't heard that incest marriage is legal in any country or any state. Same-sex is sometimes. I think in I have in the I have put it in the last parts of the PowerPoints for you. It is 2021 report that says about I think 20 or 40 countries have legal right for same-sex marriage. It is not illegal. And exogamy is practice of marrying outside one's own group. For example, Curti, is your husband from your family members, from your generation, from your city, from your, for example, cousin? Is there any blood relationship between you or no? He is strange.
He's strange.
Yeah,
He's from upstate New York. I'm from Southern Florida.
yeah. Well, it is exogamy
Yes.
without any near. All human beings, because they are from one specific species, they have near genetic structure, but it is in the macro, not in micro. In macro, yes, we have 46 chromosomes and other parts and genetic shaping, but in micro level, we are different. It is exogamy. Endo, it is enter; exo, it is exit, outside. And theoretical perspectives on family. The sociology of family is the subdiscipline of sociology that attempts to describe and explain patterns of family life and variations in family. Before entering the theoretical perspective on family, you can have about 15 minutes break, and after that, come again to the session. I'll see you in 6:45. Okay, we can start again with the sociology of family and theoretical perspectives on family. The sociology of family is the subdiscipline of sociology that attempts to describe and explain patterns of family life and variations in family structure. So we have two parts, major parts here. At first, patterns of family. Second, structure of family. These are different. Patterns are processes that we can find in the daily life of family, and the structure of family is the fixed and stable components of family, so-called family structure. And it is subdiscipline. It is a combination between psychology, family psychology and counseling, and the studies of family. We have a different major field in academy with the title of family studies, and also sociology. So the sociology of family. We can use sociology for every aspect of human life. It's something like psychology. Psychology is the scientific studying of mental processes and behaviors. It is the academic definition of psychology. Psychology is the scientific or systematic studying of uh, mental processes and human behaviors. Again, we have the academic definition for sociology. Sociology is the systematic study of human society and social interactions. This is the scientific definition, academic definition of sociology. Because of these definitions, we can use sociology and psychology in every aspect of human life. We have customer psychology. Customer psychology, for example, is the scientific studies of mental processes and human behaviors in shopping settings as a customer. Or we have industrial psychology. Industrial scientific studies of mental processes and behavior in industrial settings. And again, we can use it for sociology. Basic concept, basic definition of sociology is the scientific systematic study of human societies and social interactions. We can use the sociology for family. Sociology of family is the systematic study of social interactions, family interactions, and family as a basic social unit, human social unit. So sociology of family is the subdiscipline of sociology that attempts to describe and explain. What is the difference between description and explanation? What are the technical? What are the expert as an expert? What are the definition from between description and explanation? We say that the science has four major functions: description, explanation, prediction, and control. What are the differences between description and explanation? For example, when I want to describe the family patterns or I want to explain the family patterns, is there any technical, any professional differences between these or not? When you want to describe the market, when to want to explain the market, when to want to describe a business plan, when you want to explain the business plan. What are the differences?
Explanation involves like the how something works.
Uh-huh. It says a causality, cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
What about description or describing?
Describing just tells what it is.
Yeah. Describing, is it about observation? Not about the causes, not about the cause and effect, not about the comorbidity, not about the correlations, interrelationship, nothing. All are for explanation. Because of that, it says in the methodological books about the scientific method, it says that scientific theories and science has four major functions and different functions. One, it is at first is description, saying what you are watching, what you are seeing. It is about observation and about the measurement. After that, with the scientific tools like statistics as a science, you can find some interrelationships or correlation between different elements that you have observed during the description process. It is called explanation. Based on your assumed correlation, assumed connection between different elements of what you have observed, you can have some prediction about the future or about the larger community like your society, sampling and society. Because of that, it is called prediction. And finally, based on your prediction, you can change the word in advance and say what is good, what is not good, what is correct, what is wrong, and what should we do for what can we do for the future. It is called control, and it's a very mathematical, basically mathematical field in a university with the title of futurology. Futurology is the study, a scientific study based on the probability and statistics about the future of every aspect of human being. It is about transhuman. Transhuman is a very, very new word in the science, transhumanization or transhumanism. And it is about the post-human being. We are human being. We are talking about the post-human being. The version after us is called post-human, transhumanism. Also, they are very, very modern words, modern phrases in the science. The first perspective of family, it is about functionalist perspectives of family. We have some key terms here. Family, a group of people related to by blood, marriage, law, or custom. It is the functionalist definition of family, a group of people related by blood, marriage, law, or custom. One of the most important theories, functionalistic based theories on family, is from the thinker, author, and socialist Radcliffe Brown, a British social anthropologist from the early 20th century who contributed to the development of the theory of structural functionalism. We will talk about this theory. An institution, an established organization, especially one dedicated to education, public service, culture, or the care of destitute, poor, and etc. Functionalists, scientists of the approach of functionalism, identify a number of functions families typically perform, like reproduction, socialization, care, protection, and emotional support, assignment of status, and regulation of sexual behavior through social norms. These are the functions of the family. It's a great, basic, crucial question. Why should we marry? How do you think? Should we marry? It's mandatory. It's a mandatory element of life cycle or not. We can have a good, mature, and high level with the very matured life cycle without marriage, not without relationship, without marriage. Can you consider marriage as a mandatory element for your maturity or not?
I don't think it should be mandatory.
No, mandatory for maturity, not as a social order, for maturity. Can you consider someone without any marital status, marital relationship, to be matured or no? You think if you don't experience marital status and marital relationships, one part of your maturity process will not gain never. And
Mm,
also about the parental roles, not even as an intimate partnership, because the long-term intimate partnership is called marriage. But one of the greatest additional parts of marriage is parenting. Also about the parental experience. It's a unique experience. Nothing is like to be a parent, with the difficulty and also with the facility. How do you think?
So is the original question then like about maturity, you said? Is if you're not
Yeah.
married, you don't reach a certain level of maturity? Is that the original question?
Yeah, is it necessary for a higher maturity, for full maturity, to be married or not? It's a mandatory, it's a necessary, not mandatory. Mandatory it is for your society, but necessary it's for your maturity process. Is it necessary for your maturity process to be married or not?
No, I don't think so.
Gabriela, how do you think?
Yeah, I don't think so.
You think it is necessary for maturity process to be married or not?
So what? Sorry.
Do you think it is necessary for you or for other people, if we want to have a full maturity process during our life cycle, we
No,
should have a marital relationship or not? If we have, it is better. What without marriage, yes, you can have a good maturity in your life with a high level of knowledge, high
no,
level of
I don't think
multi-dimensional
marriage is
thinking, high level
necessary.
of wisdom.
No, I don't think I don't think about getting married.
Hmm. So you think it's a choice,
Mm-hmm.
not a necessity for maturity.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. What about the parenting? What about the parenting experience?
It's a choice. It's not mandatory.
It's not necessary for parenting.
No.
Courtney, as a mother, how do you think about the parenting experience as a mother? How do you think about the effect of parenting experience on your personality? Do you feel fatigue? Do you feel to be tired always or no? You feel yes, I have become more mature, more deeper, in contrast with, for example, pre-parenting lifestyle. Do you have any
I
different
don't think
approach to
it
yourself?
I don't think it makes you um more like a maturity level than other people who don't have children, but I think it creates a more bonding understanding when you're speaking with other parents. But I don't consider myself um any more mature in the aspect than my friends that do not have children. But I do feel like I married very young. I married at 19 and I had my children at 21 and 22. So and I'm 30 now. Um but I think it did at that time make me more mature of being married younger and then deciding to have children, and then once you have children you're at a different maturity level for your lifestyle
Perfect.
and for how you live. But I don't think it as being like superior to people who don't have children.
Because these are two different functions. One function is about getting married, one function is about parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it is only about parenting. Many people love to be a parent without any marital states.
Mm-hmm.
For example, adoption and other parts and other states of parenting that they are not related to the marriage, legal marriage.
I
Because
think
of that
it's
fun, yeah,
oh, I was just to say I think it's harder for people who like if you're married and you're discussing things with somebody who isn't married or vice like same thing with children and somebody who doesn't have children, it's hard sometimes it's harder to relate, but
yeah.
I don't think it's anything to do with maturity level. I think it's just lack of uh not having that experience.
Mhm. Because of that, functionalist scientists, functionalist socialists think that for function, the family creates well integrated members of society by instilling the social culture into children. This is called the process of socialization, instilling. very gradually, very slow, slow, slow. And one of the greatest problem we can see is in immigrants. Immigrants sometimes lose their original culture and cannot gain and accept the new culture. And they are not this, not that. They are nothing. They don't have anything to instill as a social culture to their children. And their children have a lot of identity problems in their adolescence. Radcliffe Brown proposed that most stateless, primitive societies lacking a strong centralized institutions are based on an association of decent groups. These clans emerge from family units. He has gone to the origins of the shaping of family in the very primitive societies. Again, key points, a structural function, we talk about it, a structural function is a framework that sees societies as a complex system whose parts work together to promote solidarity and stability. It is talking about the society as a structure for a center for many or one or many central functions. In structural functionalism, we see society as a unit, as a structure which has been shaped for creating, for doing certain integral, integrated, interconnected functions. In this way, society is like an organism, and each aspect of society, institutions, social construct, etc., is like an organ that works together to keep the whole functioning smoothly. We look at the society as an organ, as an organism, and different parts, different aspects of society as institutions, as family, as schools, and other parts, church, many social institutions, many social aspects, we consider them as the organs of the whole organism that work together to create and to function so good smoothly. This approach looks at society through a macro level orientation, which is a broad focus on the social structure that shapes society as a whole. Functionalism addresses society in terms of the function of its constituent elements, norms, customs, traditions, and institutions. These are the constituent elements of society, so social functions, norms, customs, traditions, and institutions. Functionalists in general identify a number of functions families typically perform. We said reproduction, socialization, care, protection, and emotional support, assignment and status and regulation of sexual behavior through the norm of legitimacy. And finally, we have categorized in four aspects the functions that functionalists consider for society. According to functionalist families, serve four key functions. One, sexual regulation. Two, socialization. Three, economic and psychological support. And four, provision of social status. So we have the functions of society in four dimensions. One, social dimensions. Two, economic dimensions. Three, psychological dimensions. And four, sexual dimensions. These are the four dimensions, four functions of society based on the functional perspectives on family. The conflict perspective of family. This is the second approach we have on everything in sociology. First is the functional perspective. Second is the conflict perspective. Key points in conflict perspectives is that the conflict perspective describes the inequality that exists in all societies globally and considers aspects of society as ways for those with power and status to maintain control over scarce resources. So, in conflict perspectives of family, as a sociological perspective on family, we consider the source of conflicts. One of the greatest source of conflicts are scarcity. We don't have enough resources for everybody in any time and anywhere. We have a scarcity of resources. It is one of the greatest problems, one of the greatest origins of creating conflict between social members, between different societies. Scarcity of resources. Again, because of control and having these resources, because of this scarcity of resources, we can consider a lot of conflict between their social members. According to conflict theories, the family works together. The continuance of a social inequality within a society by maintaining and reinforcing the status quo. Don't remember. Same, the golden key, the key word of the concept of conflict in a society, in a family. If you want or say only one word that indicates the concept of conflict, which is your favorite keywords? A golden keywords that say yes, because of this, we can have conflict. We have some proposal. Scarcity, power, inequality, inheritance, benefit. What is your choice? If you want to choose a word that is the basic part of all conflicts. Keyword, golden keyword.
Inequalities.
Perfect. Basis of conflict is inequality. Every aspect of inequality. Social conflicts, interpersonal conflict, intrapersonal conflict, economic conflicts, spiritual maybe conflicts, all are based on inequality. Scarcity is one part of inequality. Power is one part of inequality. Benefit is one part of inequality. So when you have a good equality in a society, there is no problem about the conflict. You cannot find any conflictual situation. According to conflict theories, okay? Through inheritance, the wealthy families are able to keep their privileged social position for their members. So family-based privilege, family-based prizes, family-based conditions that the family members, the next generation can have and can gain these prizes, these conditions, these privileges from their ancestors. It is about the inheritance. And conflict theorists have seen the family as a social arrangement benefiting men more than women. What are the key terms? Family, a group of people related by blood, marriage, law, and custom. What is the inheritance? It is the passing of title to an estate upon death. And conflict perspective says in the social sciences that emphasizes the social, political, or material inequality of a social group. Critics, the broad socio-political system or otherwise detracts from structural functionalism and ideological conservatism.
Dr. Takave? Hello? Oh, there you are.
Sorry.
What happened?
The next perspective is about symbolic interactions perspectives on family. It is the second perspective in all areas of sociology we can consider. Symbolic interactionist perspective. Now we are considering about family. We are considering sociology of family. So the third perspective is about symbolic interactions perspectives on family. What are the key points and what are the key terms? Our key terms, again, we have family, and in key points, we have symbolic interactions. What's the symbol? What's the definition of symbol? Can you provide any definition for symbol?
A representation of something?
Representation of something. For example, words are symbols. Vocabularies are symbols.
Can be.
Shapes and forms of other things. For example, when I paint something in my notebook, is it a symbol of another thing? Yes. The main word, it is about representative. It is, yes, representation. But representation of external things in your brain, in your mind. For example, I see a bird. And I come home and say, I saw a bird. The concept of bird is different in the mind of any of my family members. Different bird. But they don't think about a tree. They don't think about a car. One of them think about the pigeon. One of them think about, for example, eagle. One of them think about another bird. But the concept is about a being who can fly. And with, for example, some specific parts as a bird. It is the symbol. The word, the voice of bird, bird. It's this voice is the symbol of what I have seen outside of my eyes in the real world. It is the representation, the vocal representation of something outside of me that I have called it a bird. It is symbol. 1 point. Using symbols in mind begins at the age of 12. After that, we can have something like an abstract thinking. Abstract thinking is the process of changing the outer world to some symbols in my mind. For using in my process of thinking, it is abstract thinking. It is formal thinking, not concrete thinking. Before age of 11 or 12, we have concrete thinking. We know and we understand only the things that we can see. But at the age of 11 and 12, we can think about the things that we cannot see, but we have some symbols of them in our mind. It is called abstract thinking. Abstract thinking is the final stage of cognitive development. Also, even in Piaget, cognitive development theory, which is the most famous theory about cognitive development. Symbolic interaction is a theory that analyzes the pattern of communication, interpretation, and adjustment between individuals in society. The theory is a framework for understanding how individuals interact with each other and within society through the meaning of symbols. Misunderstanding between the couples, between the parents and the children, between different members of a society. All are about a different interpretation of symbols. We call it misunderstanding. I understand in a different way with a different meaning. It is misunderstanding because of different interpretation, not different meaning, different interpretation of the meaning of a symbol. It is misunderstanding. And role taking is a key mechanism that permits an individual to appreciate another person's perspective and to understand what an action might mean to that person. Role taking emerges at an early age through activities such as playing house. Many children played a role and role playing and role taking during the primary and elementary years of a school when they are children. In, for example, playing for roles of other people, like a doctor, like a nurse, like a mother, like a father. They are playing and practicing and taking different social roles through the meaning they consider for that roles. And sometimes as a father, as a mother, we say them that you are not right. It is not the role you are playing. It is not the function. It is not these are the roles of a doctor, of a surgeon, of a soldier, of a mother, of a father, any different social roles that they want to take and play. Because of that, role playing and role taking is very important for children to shape their roles in their mind. The interaction explore the changing meaning attached to family symbolic actions argue that shared activities help to build emotional bonds and that marriage and family relations are based on negotiated meanings. I'm surprised that I see some family members that they don't talk to each other until the time that they say only thing that I am going out of the marriage. I want to be separated. I want to be divorced. Before that, they don't have any good negotiation with each other. The meaning of marriage, the meaning of intimacy, the meaning of togetherness is about negotiation. So I think if I had a governmental power, I put it mandatory to pass the course of negotiation for everyone who wants to enter a probable marital status, a probable in the future. At first, do you know the conceptual and basic techniques of negotiation? It should be trained. It is not interesting. It is not naturalistic. It should be trained to people. That do you know how to negotiate with other people? It is not about girlfriends, boyfriends, couples, premarital. It is about the real, sometimes very hard, very tough situation of marriage. Why? Because people don't know how to negotiate. We are not talking about the persuade each other. We are talking only about negotiate. Negotiation is something different from conversation, from simple talking. It is negotiation. It is discussing in a very safe and cool environment to solve a problem. So if you want to get married with other people in the future, as a spouse, as a wife, as a husband, you should be trained at first. At least you should be trained the negotiation techniques. Without a doubt, you will enter an never-ending fight on nothing. I have talked many times with couples that the first question is, what is your major problem? What is your chief complaint? They cannot define, they cannot say about a unique same complaint. Each of them talk about another different problem. Chief complaint for the husband is something completely different, not in the meaning, in definition. Not in the meaning is the same. In the definition, the chief complaint for for example, husband is something completely different from the chief complaint for the wife. Why? because they haven't come and sit and have a good negotiation to each other. The interactions perspective emphasizes that family reinforce and rejuvenate bonds through symbolic rituals such as family meals and holidays. What is the meaning of ritual? Rite, a repeated set of actions. Um, what specific type of actions, what specific type of ceremonies we can call them rituals? Is any repeatable ceremony is called rituals or no? We have something different and something more for definition, the rituals. How do you think about the exact conceptual elements of definition of ritual? How do you think?
I think of it in
Gabriela is so tired tonight and so silent.
I
Okay.
think of it more loosely as I think I throw the word ritual around as anything that I do like with traditionally. Like we ritually have make sure we have family dinner every Friday night at the table all together. Like that's our
Uh-huh.
family ritual. Like, you know, I know it's more in depth and you can use it in
Yeah.
like you were saying, like religious ceremonies or things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Culture-based religious ceremonies, especially culture. Religion is one part of one element, one component of culture. When you want to consider culture and define the elements of culture, what are the basic elements of culture that shapes the major parts of every culture all around the world? It's religion. Sometimes nothing have religion is the major part. It's not important. It is for or against religion, and usually it is for religion as a major components of shaping components of culture. It is about religion. Yes, ritual has repeatable symbolic form. The deep meaning, the deep other meaning, usually it is sometimes it is called mannerism. Mannerism or stereotypic behaviors are something like rituals. Mannerism or manners or stereotypes or rituals in the aspect of repetition, yes, they are repeated and repeated again and again and again. But at the aspect of having meaning, the meaning in the rituals are so profound, so deep meaning and deep interpretation. So we have a lot of misunderstanding if you don't know the basic elements of that culture, especially about the foreign cultures. For example, I came to America and I don't know the meaning of, for example, some rituals in America. Oh, no, I don't know the meaning of my rituals in the symbolic mind of American people. It is cross-cultural conflict between the different culture, different meaning about one thing. It is about one symbols, but different meaning and different interpretation. Because of that, we talk about emotional bonds. Emotional bonds, emotional ties between different people, come them in a unified structure, in a unified field. They are think not like each other, but thinking to understand each other. We are not talking about the similarities. We are talking about understanding the differences, not for creating similarities, for understanding differences. I don't want to change you. You don't want to change me. We want to understand each other in a right way by the eyes of each other. It is called empathy. Because of that, emotional bonds create a sense of empathy in all people. Symbolic interaction explains family relationships in terms of the subjective meaning and everyday interpretation that people give their lives. This is about the symbols, about the interpretation. Any question,
Dr.
Courtney?
Takabe, the last few slides aren't in the PowerPoints. I didn't know if that was important or not.
But
Those, yeah, the functionalist perspectives and the symbolic, those ones, those specific PowerPoints aren't in the
yeah,
PowerPoints.
it's a different PowerPoint. I have changed the
Okay.
PowerPoint. Yeah. It's not
Okay.
important. So,
Okay.
for final exam, it is in your Moodle room. It is enough. For
Okay.
extra information, I have added something to the PowerPoint. Yeah,
Okay.
and I have deleted something also. And the feminist perspective on family, it is very important because the maternal role in family shaping is very important for having babies, for supporting, and behind every power, every successful and powerful man, you can find an exhausted woman. It's always because of that, and because of inequality in conflict perspective. It is conflict feminist perspective. We have some inequality for females in their history. Feminism is a broad term that is result of several historical social movements attempting to gain equal economic, political, and social rights for women. At first, equal rights, equal movements, equal position, and second part, it is very specific rights. Feminism is not always about talking about equal rights. It is also about specific rights, rights that we can consider only for female. It is not about equality. It's a different level. The men, the male cannot have those rights, those positions. First wave feminism focused mainly on legal equality, such as voting, education, employment, the marital rule, the plight of intelligence, white middle class woman, and other parts. Something you are now you are not watching in for example, Middle East. Saudi Arabia says yes. Again, women have the right of voting. Okay, about, for example, I think 50 or 60 years ago, this fighting was in America. Second wave feminism went a step further, is seeking equality in family, employment, reproductive rights, and sexuality. Both feminist and masculine authors have described predetermined gender roles as unjust. But the key terms is gender, the socio-cultural phenomenon of the division of people into various categories such as male, female, with each having associated roles, expectation, stereotypes, social expectation, and other things. The final perspective is about postmodernist perspective on family. Postmodernists argue that we no longer live in a modern world with predictable, orderly structures, out of the box thinking, such as the nuclear family. Instead, society has entered a new chaotic postmodern state. It is not about order, it is about the chaos. In postmodern society, family structures are incredibly varied and individuals have much more freedom of choice in aspects of their lives which would have been relatively constrained in the past. For example, lifestyle, personal relationships, and family arrangement. Postmodern society has two key characteristics. One, diversity and fragmentation. Two, rapid social change. In diversity and fragmentation, society is increasingly fragmented with a broad diversity of subcultures rather than one shared culture. People create their identity from a wide ranges of choices. It's fantastic. You can choose your identity. In postmodern perspective, you can choose your identity. You can choose your sexuality. You can choose your feelings. It's a postmodern. It is about the chaotic pattern and discipline in a chaotic world. It is very paradoxical. How can we have discipline in a chaotic world? We're choosing and having the accountability and responsibility for our choice, such as youth subcultures, sexual preference, and social movements such as environmentalism. And rapid social change says new technologies such as the internet, email, and electronic communication have transformed our lives by dissolving barriers of time and space, transferring patterns of work and leisure, and accelerated pace of change, making life less predictable. Rapid change. rapid and permanent changes. As a result of these social changes, family life has become very diverse, and there is no longer one dominant family type, such as nuclear family or extended family. This means that it is no longer possible to make generalization about society in the same way that modern historians such as Parsons and Marx did in past. We cannot consider any cross-cultural or multicultural model for all cultures in the world. All cultures are tailor-made, are fitted with the same society, not with other society. We are passing through the models. We are passing through the having some models for predicting all human behaviors. We are talking about the specific model for a specific culture, for a specific society, for a specific time, for a specific places. Something beyond the boundaries of time and space. You can see here functionalists, conflict feminists, symbolic interactionists, and postmodernists, and role of families in maintaining the stability of society, and also families as source of conflict and social inequality, families dynamics, including communication patterns and the subjective meanings that people assign to events. It's very important. Highly recommended to study something about something simple about the phenomenology. Phenomenology is the philosophy of how can you experience phenomena in your mind. It is about mental experiences, phenomenology. It's a very deep and applicable consideration of philosophy. Also in psychotherapy, we have a lot of all psychiatric approaches are phenomenological based. All approaches. Even, for example, in psychodynamic by Freud and psychoanalysis, cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy, and NLP, and other parts in therapy and other parts in behavioral change, all talk about phenomenology at first. The second concept that highly recommended as a young human being with a long term in front of you in from the rest of your life, it is the concept of transhumanism. Also, we have a book so-called with the title of Transhumanism. We are passing, we are passing through the age of human being. We are entering to post-human being. Maybe your children will be post-human being only after 50 years, half a century. Not about the, for example, 2 centuries or 3 centuries. We are talking about 50 years. I hope that we can invite the writer of Professor Lee. Professor Lee is the author of the book Transhumanism. We are talking to him to invite him after COVID to the university to have a very international lecture about transhumanism, because the major part of transhumanism is about marketing and about business. One of the parts of the Transformation Center of Excellence, one of the major activities in the center is about what are the transformative elements of business. Two parts is very important for you. If you want to be different with other people around yourself, even if you want to be different in your business approach, if you want to talk about only accounting, only economy, you are just like other people who are educated and know some science about the business. And it's only good for shopping, for stores at that level, at the mid-level management, not the high-level management, not about the high-level leadership. Not about the high-level leadership. In high-level leadership, you can ask your husband, because the army of U.S. Army is one of the greatest sources of leadership studies all around the world. Leadership studies, U.S. Army, you can check the articles in the internet about the leadership.
one of the greatest sources for leadership studies all around the world is US Army. Why? Because they know it is not about the guns. It is not about the bombs. It is when you want to be a good officer in US Army, you should have some analysis, some mind reading, some prediction of your enemy behavior, other people behavior, and you should know about the leadership. Modern army is not about the guns, is about the leadership of the guns, leadership of the minds, leadership of human beings. Because of that, these two aspects, one, transhumanism, one, phenomenological aspects of phenomenology, and second, transhumanism is very important to know as the next generation of leaders. Also, if you don't want to be a regular leader or regular manager. Cohabitation refers to two people who live together and think of themselves as a couple without legally registered. Wait a minute, sorry. It is cohabitation. I want to know you know about the domestic partnership. Homogamy refers to the pattern of individuals marrying those who have similar characteristics. It is about the culture. It is the individual who are in the same culturally important way, similar to each other. It is a form of assortative mating. The union may be based on socioeconomic status, class, gender, ethnicity, or religion, or age. In the case of the so-called age homogamy, we talked about the homogamy, and the same-sex marriage. The final discussion is the same-sex marriage, also known as a gay marriage. I don't know why, but at the first it was talking about the gay marriage, but now it is about the LGBTs. Same-sex marriage, also known as gay marriage, is the marriage of two people of the same sex or gender, entered into in a civil or religious ceremony. It is marriage. Pay attention, it is marriage. It is about the legal registration. There are records of same-sex marriage dating back to the 1st century. In the modern era, marriage equality was the first granted to same-sex couples in the Netherlands on 1st April 2001. Netherlands is the one of the basic resources of sexual freedom in the history, not in the modern time, in the history from, I think, near 4 or 5 centuries, Netherlands is one of the greatest basic resources for sexual freedom. As of January 2021, same-sex marriage was legally performed and recognized in 29 countries, nationwide or in some states: Argentina, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Costa Rica, Denmark, Ecuador, Finland, France, Germany, Iceland, Ireland, Luxembourg, Malta, Mexico, Netherlands. This is the words A, B, C. It is not a, it means that we don't have for all the countries, some states, some parts of the country, not all the country, not the whole country. For example, Mexico, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Portugal, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Taiwan, United Kingdom, not all the United Kingdom, United States, not all the states, and finally, Uruguay. These are the countries which full coverage of legal same-sex marriage or some partial coverage. Okay, you have 15 minutes now for taking your week 6 quiz. Is there any question? Have a good night. I am here also. Have you entered the quiz?
Not yet.
Try it.
I'm going to go back over the PowerPoints for a few minutes just because I just got them today.
Okay.
So I'm going to go through chapter 12 real quick and then start.
Okay.